सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयम् यत्सर्वविषयातीतम् तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। As the Tikakara said, Adhuna Sarva Tarkika Mata Pratishedena, by refuting the mata, the opinion or the conclusions of all the Tarkikas, whatever it is that is not in keeping with this, the declaration of the Shruti, those conclusions which have been arrived at by reasoning, not based on Shruti, Swarajya Abhishektum, which means that these Tarkikas, those coming to conclusions about what the truth is based on the reasoning, they are definitely misguided because they start with the assumption that the world or universe that they are confronting is real, and then that's how they arrive at what the ultimate reality is. Whereas ultimate reality happens to be one's own self. There cannot be anything more noble than this idea that the self or I am the ultimate reality, one non-dual, and therefore limitless. Swarajya Abhishektum. That's how the wise person becomes anointed to the sovereignty. And that is how the Atma Anatma Viveka is stated here for the Sthula Sharira Nirakaranam. Parthiva Kashino Dhatu Dravo Dehe Smritu Ammaya Deha Anatma Bhuta Parinamatvat. The Sthula Deha is Anatma Bhuta Parinamatvat because its Parinam, the modification of the five gross elements, which are Anatma, Achetana, therefore gross body, which is a product of these five elements, also is Anatma. Valmika Adivat, like the ninth hill, etc. Then Pranadini Tarsa Tadarthasya Prasivyadi Gunakramat. In a very interesting way, the Indriyas are also Anatma, because यद इंद्रियम यस्य धर्मं ग्राहयति तद इंद्रियम तस्य सजातिं भवितुमर्हति. The sense organs, a given sense organ, which enables us to perceive a sense object, meaning a sense organ that illumines the respective sense object should belong to the same class as, so illuminator should belong to the same class as the illumined. यथा तेजसस्य रूपस्य प्रकाशको दीपादिः. This is a lamp, etc., or a flame, etc., which is of the same class as the color, which is illumined by that, both of the tejasa, the modification of tejas. Similarly also, the sense organs of perceptions, which reveal the respective objects of the sparsha, must belong to the same class, and that was also bhautika. Evam indriyana bhautikatve. So the shabda, sparsha, the sense objects that are illumined by the respective sense organs are bhautika. They are the combination of products of the five elements, and therefore the sense organs also should be of the same category, meaning anatma. Kinchi indriyani na atmana karanatvat. But indriyas are not atma. So this was a very interesting reason that the sense organs should belong to the same class as the sense object, the element, something new. Secondly, that sense organs are karana, or they are the tools, the means to accomplish certain action. Karanatvat, sadhana karanatvat, asadhana karanatvat. So that is how a sense organ is. What is required for carrying out a certain given task. Buddhyarthani, ahu etani. The earlier verse talked about the five organs of perception and said that they belong to the same class as the objects illumined by them. This rule belongs to the buddhyarthani, the sense organs for knowledge, the organs of perception. Vakpanyadini karmane. The other organs like the speech, etc., karmane, karmartham, they are meant for performing the respective actions. So this rule can apply to both organs of perception and organs of, because both are performing actions, the illumining as well as the, so one is receiving the stimuli, other is creating the stimuli. Then you also accept another 11th sense organ or 11th organ, karanam, called antahkaranam. Tad vikalpartham antastham manah ekadasham bhavet. Tad vikalpartham. So, for the perception of a sense or object one at a time, or for performing an action of the organ of action one at a time, you require a mind that creates this, this sequence. And therefore, mind is accepted as the 11th organ. And of course, manasah, karanatvat, anatvatvam. Idea is that the mana also is karanam, and therefore is also anatma. Buddhirabhinatma, karana visheshatvat, manovaditi. And buddhi is taken separately also because the Buddha specifically said that buddhi is atma. Therefore, there is a need to establish buddhi also is an atma. Otherwise, antahkarana should include buddhi also. But anyway, nischayartha bhavet buddhi tam sarvarthanubhavim ज्ञाता आत्मुक्त स्वरूपेण ज्योतिषा व्यंजन सदा. बुद्धि निश्चयार्था भवेत्. One antahkarana only, but a particular mode of antahkaranam, that vritti or a particular mode is called buddhi nischayartha. When the antahkaranam is in a mode when it is coming to a conclusion or a judgment or it's a determination, that's called buddhi. That faculty is called buddhi, or that vritti is called buddhi. निश्चय अर्थ परिच्छेद है. To determine about what the object is, to perceive the object is said to be the role of the mind along with sense organs. To determine what that object is said to be the role of the intellect or buddhi. Nischaya karanam buddhi, so buddhi also is karanam. Karanam or an organ for nischaya, for ascertainment of the nature of the object. The buddhi also is an atma like manaha. And further, सर्वार्थान भाविनीम बुद्धिम ज्ञाता आत्मा उक्त है. सो बुद्धि ज्ञातु अपि अन्य दृश्यत्वादपि तस्य अनात्मत्वम. Other reason why buddhi is anatma is because buddhi also is anya drishya. It is also illumined by the atma. Therefore also it is drishya, therefore anatma. Then buddhi jnatu abhi buddhi anya jnayatva shankam varayati. If buddhi is the jnata or jnatri, and then also that becomes jnaya. Even the buddhi knows other objects, itself becomes known by Atma. Then if Atma also is knower, would it not be that Atma also will become known to something or somebody? Swarupena Jyotisha Vyanjan Sada. The way Atma knows Buddhi is not that there is knowerness in Atma. Atma simply illumines the Buddhi by virtue of illumination it becomes knower, not by the act of knowing. So Buddhi is a knower in primary sense, and as much as Buddhi becomes Jnana Ashraya or the locus of the act of knowing. Atma is not knower in that sense. Atma just is Swarupena Jyotisha. Atma, the self, is nature of Jyotish. Consciousness by its own nature, and Sada Vyanjan, it always reveals. See, Buddhi becomes Jnata depending upon what is known. If there is no Jnaya or object of knowledge, Buddhi is not Jnata. Atma is always Jnata in the sense that it always shines and reveals. So, Sada Vyanjan, the Swarupena Jyotisha. Therefore, Atma is knower by virtue of the Jyotish or consciousness, which is its nature, and thus illumining. Buddhi is not nature of Buddhi to illumine. Now and then it does. Now then we continue with the page 245, the next verse. यदि बुद्धेः आत्मा भासकः तर्हि तया संसर्गात् अशुद्धि आपद्यते इति. This teacher starts with a simple idea and slowly makes it more and more complex. So the next question is, यदि बुद्धेः आत्मा भासकः, illuminator. If Atma is the illuminator of the Buddhi, and you say not the knower of the Buddhi, but the illuminator of Buddhi, Swarupena Jyotisha Vyanjan Sada, there is samsargad. Is it not that the illuminator should come in contact with what is illumined? In that case, the illuminator also will be tainted by the impurity of what is illuminated. So samsargat ashuddhi apadyeta. Atma also will in fact be affected by the impurity of buddhi, etc., that is illumined. Iti ashankya drishnayantena pratyaha, or pariharan, refuting that conclusion with drishtanta. The next verse says, Vyanjakastu yatha lokaha Vyangyasyakarataṃ gataha Vyatikirnopyasankirnaha Tadvajñah pratyayai sada. यथा आलोकः व्यञ्जकः. Alokah, light. Vyanjaka is what reveals. So Vyanjaka brings to abhivyakti, brings to illumination or manifestation what is unmanifest. So that's what aloka or the light does. So as long as this object is not aloka, light is not in contact with the object, so long the object remains unmanifest. And when the object comes in contact with the light assumes the form of this object, and that's how the object is manifested by the light. Not created by light, manifested by light. यथा आलोकः व्यञ्जकः. व्यञ्जकः दीपालोकादिः. So व्यङ्ग्यस्य आकारतां गतः. When can the light illumine an object such as this little pot? Is when the light takes the form of the illumined object. So दीपालोकादिः व्यङ्ग्यस्य घटादेः आकारतां गतः सन्. And thus दीपालोकः, like a light of a lamp. Vyangyasya, of what is brought to manifestation in the object. Ghatadehe, like pot, etc., which is illumined. How akartam gataha. That aloka, the light, assumes, takes the form rather of a pot, an object such as pot, which is illumined. Vyatikirinopi, even though it is Vyatikirina, Vyatikiranam Vyamishrataya Bhasamanopi. It looks like that this light has completely become one with the pot, meaning that light cannot be distinguished from the pot. Therefore, Vyamishrataya Bhasamanopi. So light appears to be completely mixed with the pot. Vastuda asankirana. In reality, the light remains unmixed. Asankirana means vivikta swaya bhavati. You remove this pot, the light remains where it is. And therefore, if the light had mixed or become joined or connected with this pot, then the light also will be affected by the changes in the pot. Light is what it is in its own nature. And therefore, even though when we perceive the pot, looks like the light has become one with the pot, in reality, light remains totally unmixed with the object such as pot. So with Drishtanta, the Drishtanta of the light is said how, but illumination does not affect the illuminator. Tadvad jnah pratyayhi sada. Tad jnah means the conscious being or the Atma here. Pratyayhi buddhi vrittivihi asankirnah. So vyatikirnah vyamishtataya bhasamanapi Atma also it may look like, but illuminating the various pratyayas or the thoughts or the cognitions in the buddhi. May look like Atma has become one with the ghatakara, patakara, mathakara. Or the knowledge that this is ghata, this is pata, this is matha, nishya. But still, like the light, it always remains unmixed, independent of what is illumined. Atah nitya shuddha eva atma iti bhava. Therefore, Atma is nitya shuddha in spite of illumining ashuddhi. Surya yatha sarvlokasya chakshuhu na lipyate chakshushahi bhakhyadoshahi. Sun illumines all kinds of garbage and dirty things. If we see those things, then we may get perhaps affected by that mentally or dharmically, in the sense that seeing something bad is also creating papa for us. That doesn't happen to Surya, which illumines everything, remains unaffected by them. So Atma illumines all kinds of buddhi vrittis and still remains completely unmixed or indifferent to them. And therefore, Nitya Shuddha Atma, Shuddhi or the purity of Atma is never affected. Ini buddhyadehe atyanta vilakshano nirvyapara Atma. If, as you say, Atma is buddhyadehe atyanta vilakshana, it's totally different. Vilakshana, the characteristic lakshana of the Atma are totally contrary to, in contradiction to the lakshana of the buddhi. But illumined, illuminator, vikari, nirvikar, ashuddha, nitya shuddha, nirvivyara, nirvyapara, swarupena jyotisha vyanjan. For illuminating the Atma does not perform any vyapara or any activity just by being what it is that the things get illumined. And therefore, for the buddhi vrittis to be illumined, no vyapara or any activity or effort is required on the part of Atma. Katham tahi tasya avasakatvam iti. How can the Atma illumine this buddhi vritti without any activity? इसको अवभाषक है, इसको illuminator. Illuminator would be one that illumines. So if there is no effort on the part of Atma illumine buddhi and other things, then how can he accomplish the act of illumining the buddhi? Tadapi drishtanta, that also is explained how without effort Atma can illumine with drishtanta, with illustration. Next verse is Sthito deepo yatha yatnah praptam sarvam prakashayet shabdadyakara buddhirjnah praptastadvat prapashyati. Yatha deepa, the drishtanta, is a deep or a lamp. Praptam sarvam prakashayet. Whatever comes in the range of the light of a lamp, the lamp illumines ayatnaha, effortlessly. So without any effort, a lamp illumines whatever comes in the range of the light. Praptam means whatever is praptam, whatever comes in the range of light, sarvam prakashayet, it illumines. Important ayatnaha. For illumining whatever is in the range of the light, the lamp has to make no effort. Shabdadi akara buddhi. So shabdadi akara buddhi, similarly buddhi, which now becomes shabda, takes the form of the shabda, sparsha, etc., ghatakara, patakara. Call it buddhi, call it mind, So in the buddhi there is this cognition that this is a path and this is a cloth. So jnana, buddhi is the plural of the accusative case. Praptaha buddhi jnana prakash prapashyati. Similarly also all the various thoughts of the intellect or mind which come in the range of the light of consciousness of the Atma, they are all illumined without any effort on the part of Atma. So illumination is not an act. Illumination is something happens, although this was discussed earlier also. When something comes in contact with light, like a snake which comes out of a hole, becomes illumined by the light of the sun, without any effort on the part of the sun, all that is necessary is the object that is illumined should come in contact with the light that illumines. And here same thing is stated that, and so jnana praptaha shabdadyakara buddhi tadvat prapashyati. All the way shabdakara, the buddhi that takes the form of different objects as shabdasparsha, as they arise, they illuminate the Atma without any effort on the part of the Atma. Tathapi katham shuddhi. All right. So Atma illumines buddhi and its vrittis without effort. Tathapi, you see, it is nitya shuddha. How do you call the Atma is ever pure? Sukhitvadi sfuranat. Atma says, Sukhi aham, Dukhi aham. So when different buddhi vrittis take place, like Sukhakar vritti, Dukkhakar vritti, Atma seems to say Sukhi aham, Dukhi aham, I am happy, I am unhappy. So when Atma says I am happy, I am unhappy, Sukhitvad Sfuranat, Katham Shuddhi, how can you say that Atma is pure when it takes the form Sukhi aham, Dukhi aham? Iti ashankya aha. So next verse answers this doubt here, Sharira iti. Sharirendriya sanghate Atmatve nagatandhiyam Nityatma jyotisha deeptam Vishimshanti sukhadaya. Sharirendriya sanghatam atmatvena gatam dhyam. This buddhi, its nature is to identify with the upadi, sharira, indriya, mana, etc. So buddhi identifies with them. And then, so sukhadaya vishimshanti, buddhim vishimshanti. The sukhitvam, dukhitvam, so these are the visheshanas. So sukhitvam qualifies what? Does sukhitvam qualify atma? The teacher says no, sukhitvam qualifies buddhi. Which buddhi? The buddhi of which the nature is to identify with the body, etc. So that is where sukhitvam, dukhitvam takes place. And sukhitvam, dukhitvam is not the visheshana or the attribute of atma. So the Tika says, Shariradi sanghate atmatvena gatam buddhi. Sukhade. So, Shariradi sanghate atmatvena pravuktam dhyam buddhim. Again, accusative case that buddhi, which has atmatvena gatam or atmatvena pravuktam. Buddhi which has identified with the Shariradi sanghata. Therefore, that which he calls Shariradi sanghata atma, atmatvena gatam. Buddhi calls the Shariradi sanghata, the assembly of the body, etc., as atma. Sukhadaya, then sukha, dukkha, which arise, they are the qualifications of what? Buddhim vishimshanti. They qualify buddhi. Natu atmanam. So sukhitvam, dukhitvam belongs to buddhi, which is identified with the body, etc. And sukhitvam, dukhitvam do not belong to atma. Kim lakshanam buddhim. So when you say that sukhitva, etc., they qualify buddhi. What buddhi of what nature? So say nityatma jyotisadiptam dhyam. Is also the qualification of buddhi. Nityatma jyotisha diptam prakashitam jyotisha. Instrumental case. So buddhi prakashitam illuminated by the jyotis or the light of atma, that is nitya. So jyoti also, atma is nitya, jyoti also is nitya, so by the light of consciousness. But the eternal light of consciousness, which illumines that buddhi, that is where sukhitva, dukhitva happens, not in atma, the illuminator. Thereby saying here that buddhi is bhasya, illumined. Atma is bhasaka, illuminator. Tathacha, भाष्य भाषक बुद्ध्यात्मनो अविवेकात्. So bhasya, buddhi, bhasaka, atma. Then aviveka. The reason why people think that atma is sukhi dukkhi is because what is sukhi dukkhi is buddhi. And buddhi in turn is illumined by atma. And it is the nature of the light to assume the form of what it illumines. So atma, the consciousness, seems to also take the form of buddhi, which is sukhitvam, dukkhitvam. So not being able to distinguish between the buddhi, the sukhi buddhi, and the consciousness that illuminates sukhi buddhi. It is thought that consciousness is sukhi, consciousness is dukhi. So bhasya bhasaka buddhyatmano aviveka. On account of aviveka, inability to distinguish the two, bhasya and bhasaka. Bhasya is buddhi, bhasaka is atma. Therefore, atma sukhadimani bhranti. Therefore, the sukhadi, sukhitvam, dukkhitvam belongs to buddhi, is falsely taken to belong to atma. It's called bhranti, and that is not the reality. This conclusion, the sukhi, atma is sukhi dukhi, is bhranti, not the nature of atma. Kutevam nishya, that this is bhranti. How do you say? The sukhitvam, dukkhitvam are the attributes of buddhi. And to think that atma is sukhi dukhi is bhranti, kutevam, this nishya. So how do you arrive at this nishya? Next verse is Shiro dukkadinatmanam dukhyasmiti hi pashyate trashtanyo dukhyano drishyad drashtutvaachana dukhyasau. Just simply taking examples on day-to-day life. Vedanta does not require any exotic examples. But exotic experience is also in order to understand and own up the truth. All day-to-day stuff here, shiro dukkhadina. So, because of headache, etc., atman dukhyasmiti pashyati. So, when you say that I have headache or I am dukkhi, very clear that the ache belongs to head. Now, that is why this example is given. Buddhi is an internal organ, and so there may be a question, but headache is something that belongs to head. And when that pain happens, then also you declare I am in dukkhi, I am in pain. So you say, drashta anyo dukhyano drishyat. Therefore, drishyat dukhyana. So one who claims that I am dukkhi, there is a drashta illuminator of that also, and therefore, drashtutvaachana dukhyas. Therefore, the one that illuminates is dukkhi, cannot be dukkhi. See the tika. Shiro dukkhadina atmanam dukkhi asmiti vashyati. Shir adi dehavayagaten dukkhena. That shiro dukkham, the headache is one thing, but then there can be pain in any limb or part of the body. Dehavayagaten dukkhena. So dukkha that obtains in dehavayava, in a limb of the body, part of the body, place in the body, tat avagatena dukkhena yasmat dukhyamisa atmanam pashyati. So here this is very clear that dukkha belongs to hands or legs or head. Because when we pay attention, then we know my hand is aching. And still I say I'm unhappy or I'm in pain. Still I say. When I'm in my right mind, then I know that what has happened to my head and what has happened to my stomach. I go and tell the doctor. Next minute I say, I am in pain. So I am in pain is naturally because the pain was drushya. How can you, the drashta, be in pain? Instead of declare I am in pain, that means that I am mixing up the two, aviveka. So shir adi dehavayavagatena dukhyana yasmad dukkhyam atmanam pashyati. So even though otherwise, the pain, etc., belongs to the body or some part of the body or limb of the body, and still he claims, I am Dukhi. Tasmad Deham Atmatvena Gata Buddhi. So, therefore, it is Buddhi that is identified with the body, etc., and that is where Dukkhitvam is. And so, Deha Shiro Dukkhadina Atmanam Dukhyasmiti Pashyati. Therefore, the conclusion that I am in pain is wrong conclusion because I know very well that the pain belongs to Anatma, not I. Tasmad Deham Atmatvena Gata Buddhi Yojana. Therefore, it is Buddhi that is identified with the Deha, etc., and that's why Dukkhitvam takes place, and by Viveka. That's why this example, idea is not different from previous verse. Previous verse is explained with an example, where we can clearly see where we are making mistake. How when I am objective, I know that it's my head that is aching, my stomach that is aching. But when I am not alert, not objective, then habitually I say I am in pain. So when I examine this statement, I am in pain, I realize that that is a statement arising from identifying with buddhi, which is in pain, because buddhi is identified with the body, etc. So टीकाकार अयम आशय आत्मना विशेष विज्ञानम बुद्धि अध्यास निबंधनमिति स्थिति. Atma is the nature of samanya jnana. This consciousness is the nature of Atma. Satyam jnananandam. This Vishesha jnana, sukhi aham, dukhi aham, how does that arise? Buddhi adhyas nibandhanam iti sthitihi. Atma, that is the nature of samanya jnanam, consciousness, becomes Vishesha jnana, gains Vishesha jnana, sukhitvam, dukhitvam, because of the buddhi that has taken the form of this sukhitvam, dukhitvam, and adhyasa, that buddhi in turn is superimposed upon the Atma, and therefore sukhitvam, dukhitvam belong to buddhi, in fact are thought to belong to Atma. तथा शुरो दुखेन उदर दुखेन वा दुःखिहमस्मीति अभिमानात्मक बुद्धि अवस्थापन्न विशेषस्येव. Therefore, शुरो दुःखत्वेन उदर दुःखत्वेन वा दुःखिहमस्मीति, that is the buddhi, that's ego it says. You can say buddhi says that, or you can ego says that sukhiham dukkhiham, by identifying with the organ where the pain happens. अभिमानात्मक बुद्ध्यवस्थापन्न विशेषस्य दुःखित्वात्. So whatever it is that is identified with buddhi, that also feels that I am in pain. Basically, buddhi is what identifies with the body and is in pain. Therefore, the pain is superimposed. In buddhi also is no pain. Buddhi says dukhyaham because of the identification, the body, etc., where the pain is. And you can call it Sukhi Dukhi as ego or buddhi. And Atma is thought of Sukhi Dukhi, but further identifying with that ego or buddhi. Therefore, Sukha Dukkhadayo Buddhi Vishimshanti. Therefore, Sukha Dukkha, Sukhitva, Dukkhitva are the attributes of buddhi and not the attributes of Atma. What was said in the previous verse is quite appropriate, because we see here how buddhi habitually identifies with the organs and then takes the form of sukhitvam, dukhitvam, And further adhyasa makes Atma appear as a Sukhi Dukhi. Drashtatu Dukkhino Drushadanya. Atma is Drashta, eliminator of Dukhi Buddhi or Dukhi Ahankara. Therefore, the Drashta, the eliminator, must be different from the Sukhi Dukhi Ahankara or Buddhi, which is Drushya. Atmatvena Abhimanyamana Dehavayava Upaghātādi Janita Dukkhākara Samhasa Buddhe. Long thing. But how in Sanskrit you can give a precise definition? Also again in brief way. Atmatvena Abhimanyamana Dehavayava. So Atmatvena Abhimanyamana Dehavayavaha. Abhimana. So Dehavayava. A avayava or a part or a limb of the body, which is Atmatva, which is thought to be I. So identify hands and legs and stomach and buddhi, head, etc. Avayava, Upaghātādi Janika. So when one of these limbs or the parts of the body is hurt, is beaten up by, or is affected by some aghata or collision, in that case, avayava upaghātādi janita. Therefore, the avayava, it becomes, suppose there is a fall, then poor leg is bruised or is broken, and so that upaghāta, that attack is there, and that is what creates this pain in that particular part. Upaghātādi janita dukkhākara samhasa buddhe. Therefore, buddhi takes the akara of the dukkha, and there is a reflection in that buddhi. And therefore, dushya, sakshi, therefore, the sakshi, the illuminator or the witness is different from the buddhi that is witness. Buddhi becomes witness because of the reflection of the consciousness of buddhi. So first of all, there is head or some limb which is struck with something, and therefore my head got stuck, and therefore there is bump, then there is a pain in my head. Then buddhi identifies with the head, and then buddhi assumes the form of dukkhitvam, etc. Then buddhi in turn reflects the Atma, therefore there is reflected consciousness or samhasa buddhi. It is nature of buddhi to reflect consciousness anyway, whatever the form is. And that's how the buddhi also becomes as though enlivened and feels dukkha, sukha dukkha. And that is known, and therefore buddhi is bhasya, and Atma, the elements of buddhi is different if we pay attention. If we do not pay attention, then there is habitual identification with buddhi also, and therefore Atma says, I am dukhi sukhi, or I conclude that Atma is sukhi dukhi. Asau drashtvatvadeva na dukhi, etc. Atma being drashta, therefore, where is dukkhitvam? In the buddhi. How did that come? Where is real dukkha? In the head. Dukkha in the head came in the buddhi because of buddhi identifying the head. And then buddhi becomes enlivened by the reflected consciousness. But with that buddhi and Atma, the viveka is not there, and therefore distinction not there, Brahma is there, therefore the dukkhitva of the buddhi is taken to be that of Atma, but Atma cannot be dukhi because it is sakshi or eliminated. Dushtutvat asona dukhi iduktameva spashtayate. So, same thing is clarified here. Drashtuttvadasu na dukhi. Atma, because of drashta, they were not dukhi, is further clarified in next verse. Dukhyasya dukhyaham manat. Dukkhino darshanannava. Samhate gadibhir drashta. दुःखी दुःखस्य नैव सः. दुःख्य स्यात् दुःखी अहम मानात्. दुःखी अहम मानात् दुःखी स्यात्. So dukkhinah, so Atma becomes dukhi not because of dukkhinah darshanat. Atma does not become dukhi by darshanam, by the knowing of the buddhi that is dukhi. It is dukhi abhimanat. Abhimanam, or the identification of dukhi buddhi, that Atma is thought to be dukhi, and not because Atma is eliminated. In reality, Atma is eliminated of buddhi that is dukhi. If that was recognized, that Viveka was there, Atma, there is no dukkhitam in Atma. That would be clear to us also. But dukkhitam is not because Atma is the seer of buddhi, Atma is identified with buddhi. That's how the dukkhitam comes. Samhate angadivi drashta dukkhi dukkhasya sah. Angadivi samhate drashta dukkhi. So, dukkhasya drashta naiva dukkhi. That's how this anvaya is. Dukkhasya drashta naiva dukkhi. The one drashta of the dukkha is not dukkhi. So says the Tika, Ayam Atma Dukkhi Hammanat. One word, Dukkhi Hammanat. What is what? Dukkhakara Parinamavati Antahkarane Ahamiti Abhimanat Dukkhi Syat. This is Atma, Jiva-Atma, or in ego. Becomes Dukkhi. Even ego also need not become Dukkhi. It is Dukkhi Hammanat. That is because of identification. What is Dukkhi? What is Dukkhi? Dukkhakara Parinamavati Antahkarane. Antahkarana that takes the form of Dukkha, Dukkhakara. So Dukkhakara, Sukhakara are the states of Antahkarana. Ahamiti Abhimana, having identification with that Antahkaranam, which is Dukkhakaram, Sukhakaram, ego says Dukkhiyam, Sukhiyam. So identification brings about the ideas. Even that also may have habitual. But then again identify that ego, Atma says Sukhi Dukkhiyam, or I think Atma is Sukhi Dukkhiyam. So nato Dukkhinaha Dukkhakara Pranyavatah Darshanat. So Atma is Dukkhi not because it is the perceiver or witness of the Dukkhi Buddhi. Atma is Dukkhi because of identification of the Dukkhi Buddhi and not because of the witness of the witnessing Dukkhi Buddhi. Not Darshanat. Dukkhi is not Darshanat, it is Abhimanat. If Darshanam makes Dukkhi, that would be a miserable thing. Tatha sati udasinanapi dukkhinam pasyatam dukkhitva prasanga. If I am affected by what I perceive, then if I see another person who is dukkhi, then I will become dukkhi. That is the rule. That the witness is affected by what is witnessed. Then that should keep on happening to us all the time, because we witness somebody who is dukkhi, then I should become dukkhi. That's not so. When dukkha, we know that dukkha definitely belongs to elsewhere, not to me, when that distinction is clear. Usually I confine myself to body. And whatever is outside the body is not I is very clear. So if an object like pot, etc., falls down, breaks, I don't say I have broken. Or if a dog, poor thing, is barking and is seen pain, that doesn't bring pain to me because I know that I am witness of the pain. If there is empathy, then in the mind that pain can come, that identification creates pain in me, not witnessing. So if the tree falls down, I don't fall down, I am very clear. When the viveka distinction is there, then witness is known not to get affected by what is witnessed. Atma is a witness, buddhi has taken the form of the dukkha, and therefore there cannot dukkhitam in Atma. Prakriti ki mayatam, alright. So what is the context in the subject and discussion? Samhate angadivihi drashta, angadivihi hastadyangai, chakshurad indriyascha, samhate dehe, samhate means dehe. Samhata means aggregate. Deha, the body, that's the aggregate of angadivihi, of hastadyangai, the limbs such as hands, etc. Chakshura indriyahi, the organs, sense organs such as eyes, etc. Samhate dehe, the body which is the aggregate of these limbs and the organs. Yad dukkham. So dukkha which is in this aggregate or assembly. Assembly of different parts or organs of the body and different organs of perception and action. That's called body. Yad dukkham, this is where dukkha is. Because the poor body is struck by something. It collides with something. In that case, the pain arises in body or in sense organs or in this aggregate, in this sanghata, which is called the body-mind sense complex. That's where dukkha is. Tasya dukkhasya dashtaya atma sakshi. Atma is drashta, witness of the dukkha, sanaiva dukkheti. Atma cannot dukhi if he remains a drashta. If he identifies, then as though becomes dukhi. As long as the status of drashta, witness is clear, so long Atma cannot dukhi. Atma is thought to be dukhi because of the habitual identification with that sanghata. Otherwise, Atma is sakshi, therefore dukkhitum cannot be in Atma. So, neva dukkhiti siddham iti shesha. Therefore, Atma is not dukhi, dukkha belongs to anatma. And the notion of dukkhitvam in Atma is because of identification and not because of the nature of Atma. Dukkhino drashtutvepi dukkhitvam atma yujyate iti. Why do you say that when you see the dukkhi that you cannot become dukhi? Dukhyana drashtutvepi. Even if you see the dukhi, something, somebody in pain or something in pain, in this case a body mind sense complex, atma dukkhitvam yujyate, then also it is quite likely that atma becomes dukhi by being the witness of the sanghata that's dukhi. Why not? It is drishtantena shankate. So the Purvapakshi gives a drishtanta to show us how this conclusion, that even the witness of dukhi also can become dukhi. So very interesting example. Anyway, let's see Chakshurvadari. So next verse is Chakshurvat karma kartrutvam Syachinnanekam tatat Samhatam cha tato natma Drashtutvat karmatam vrajet. Now this is something that we have to deliberate little long, more to understand the example. But yatha chakshusha, so there is that how chakshu, karma kartrutvam in chakshu, in one chakshu there is karmatvam, kartrutvam. Chakshu simultaneously becomes drashta as well as drushya. So there is no rule that what is the drushya cannot be drashta or drashta cannot be drushya. We say drashta cannot be drushya because there cannot be simultaneously the karma kartrutvam, they cannot coexist in the same locus. Drashta is one locus, drushya is a different locus, therefore drashta cannot be drushya and drushya cannot be drashta. But here there is an example of how one thing is both drashta as well as drushya. Yatha chakshusha darpanadinishthaya drushya. Now you are looking at a mirror. You see your own eyes. My eyes see themselves. So eyes are the seer also, and eyes are seen also. So eyes are simultaneously seer as well as seen. Drashta and drishya. Yasa chakshusha darpanadinisthataya drishyatvam. That chakshu which is darpanadinishtham, which is located in the mirror, etc., drishyatvam, that becomes drishya or something that is perceived. Tasyeva chakshusha, of the same very chakshu, mukhadeshasthataya, that chakshu which obtains in the mukha or in the face, drashtutvam. And so it is that chakshu or the eyes which are stated or which are located in the face becomes the drashta of the eye that is located in the mirror. Same eye. Same eye located in the face becomes the drashta of the eye that is located in the mirror. How same entity such as eye becomes both drashta and drishya simultaneously? You say one cannot be. Here is an example. Our position is that, our argument is that drashtutvam, drishyatvam cannot coexist in the same locus at the same time. Because you cannot ride on your own shoulder. You cannot objectify your own self. Vijñātāramare kena vijaniyāt. What's the means of knowing the knower? You cannot objectify the knower, therefore Atma cannot be knower and known simultaneously. But here an example is given. How chakshu that is located in the face becomes the drashtu of the chakshu that is located in the mirror. Tatha atmana dukkha sambhinnataya drishyatvam. Similarly, imagine this upadhi, body, mind, sense complex upadhi, which is where dukkha is, and atma dukkha sambhinnataya drishyatvam. So Atma reflected in the upadhi is dukkhi, drishya. Swarupa chaitanya avastaya drishya. And the Atma, that is the nature of consciousness, that illumines the upadhi is drishta. And Atma, that is identified with upadhi, is drishya. See, chakshu identified with the mirror becomes drishya. Although chakshu that is not identified. Chakshu in the face is not identified with the mirror, becomes drashta of chakshu that appears in mirror, identified with the mirror. Because if the mirror is distorted, the chakshu also is distorted reflection. So here also Atma that is witness or consciousness, and here is Atma that is reflected in the upadhi, in the identified the upadhi. Same Atma becomes drishya. Atmana dukkha sambhinnataya drishyatvam swarupa chaitanya avasthataya drashtutvam chaiti karma kartvam ghatate. So why not Atma can be both karma, dukkhi, karta, also dukkhi? So this is example. What applies to chakshu can as well apply to Atma, why not? Even if we accept the drishtanta, still the drishtanta does not apply to Atma in all aspects. That's what the teacher will show. Siddhanti pariharati na iti. So, na chakshurvat karma kartutvam syat. This is the samshaya, purva paksha. Na is the answer. Anekam eva tata. That chakshu anekam, that chakshu is anekam, meaning that it is also an assembly made up of various components. Sammatam cha, assembly also. Tato na atma dashtutvat karmatam rajet, but atma cannot become there because atma is eka. So chakshu and atma are of different nature, therefore what applies for chakshu cannot apply to atma. There is an upadhi. What's the upadhi? Anekatvam, samhatatvam. Upadhi that applies to the special condition applies to chakshu, that doesn't apply to atma. Siddhanti parihari naiti. So first answer is given. Chakshurvat karma kartrum syat. Shanka. Na. Answer. Kuta. How do you say that? Then hetu must be given. When you just give a proposition, pratigna, na is a pratigna. What's the hetu? Kuta iti anekameva tata. So here there is vaidharmyam. Tat anekameva. Tat chakshu anekam anekakarameva samhatam cha samhatam second line cha bhavati. That chakshu has aneka akara as well as an assembly of various components. इत्यतः घटयतस्य कर्मत्वं कर्तृत्वं च अंशभेद उपत्तेः इति अक्षरातः. Meaning that one part of chakshu can see the other part of chakshu because chakshu is made up of parts. It is not that what is drishya is what is drashta, understand. Even in case of chakshu also, the drishya is not drashta. One part of chakshu is drishya, other part is drashta. So the Bhatta says that Atma is both the conscious and unconscious. Because in deep sleep you say that I slept well, so you are aware of the sleep, happiness, you are aware of the jnanam. So in deep sleep also there is a part that is aware, and there is a part which is object of awareness. So Atma is both Chetana, Achetana. This is their conclusion. Now that cannot be because Atma is partless. Therefore this cannot apply there. But Chakshu Anekam, Anek Akaram, Samhatam cha. So Chakshu can take different akaras as well as it is an assembly of different components. Itada ghatate tasya karmatvam kartrutvam cha amshabhed upattehi iti aksharatah. Meaning amshabhed upattehi. Because amsha or the part of the chakshu are different. Therefore it is upapatna. Upanna means it is tenable that one part of chakshu becomes the drashta of the other part of chakshu becomes drashya. So karmatvam kartrutvam is feasible in case of chakshu, which is number one, keeps changing. Chakshu keeps on changing depending on what it sees. And chakshu also has that there is this pupil here and there so different parts are there, and so one part sees the other part. That's what happens. गोलकांशस्य दर्पणस्थस्य दृश्यत्वं तस्य शक्तिमत्वांशस्य सुखनिविष्टस्य दृष्टुत्वं मुखनिविष्टस्य दृष्टुत्वं. So there is golaka in which the chakshu is. Golakaंशस्य darpanasthasya drishyatvam. So chakshu that is in the darpanam is golakaamsham, is an amsha or the part of golaka, the location where the chakshu is. Shaktimatvam, so seeing is the Shakti. So the chakshu that is there in the mirror doesn't have Shakti of seeing. It is only golakaamsha, means that it is only located in its locus golaka. Whereas chakshu that sees here is Shaktimat, meaning it possesses the ability to see or perceive. Therefore, golakaamshasya darpanasthasya drishyatvam, that chakshu cannot see. And that's why it is drishyam. Shaktimatvam the chakshu that is mukha nivishtam possesses Shakti of seeing. Though it can become drashta. So same chakshu is not drashta, same chakshu is different, has different akaras. One akara is what? It is just a chakshu which is located in the locus. Second is a chakshu which has capacity to see. And therefore anekata. And further chakshu is an assembly of different components. Iti yuktam ubhayarupatvam. So this is something very interesting, Never cover this this takes the example that we never thought about, But anyway, so how somebody can bring some kind of an objection from some observation. And by the way, also the teacher is, training us in observing the life. So don't draw even conclusions about the chakshu also. That conclusion also is not right. That Chakshu is both Drashta, Drushya. One aspect of Chakshu is Drashta, another aspect is Drushya. इति विवक्षितः अर्थः. Atmastu na evam amshaveda asti, but Atma is nirabhayava, is nirvikara, anapara, and then apurva, anapara, is neither cause nor effect. Therefore it is formless, changeless. If amshaveda, therefore there is no bheda. There is not one part of Atma eliminating other part of the Atma, or one aspect of Atma seeing other aspect of Atma. Ekarupatvat, asamattatvat. See, aneka rupata is possible only when there is sanghat. In assembly only, aneka rupata is possible when the different components of assembly change, then further the rupa also changes. Different components of eyes change, then the eyes also undergo change. Eyes cannot undergo change if eyes are not made up of different parts, then only change can come. Atma is partless. Chit prakasho न एवं अंशभेद अस्ति एक रूपत्वात् असम्मतत्वात्. Atma is not an assembly and Atma is nirvikara. So the teacher says, tatah na atma drashtutvat karmatam vrajet. Drashtutva atma karmatam na vrajet. Atma remains drashta, never becomes drashya. Chit prakashega swavad atma drashta eva. So, therefore Atma is only drashta. Na drishyam sa sambhinnaha. Drishyam sa anatmatvat. That Atma cannot become so. The eyes can become mixed up with the mirror. Eyes can become mixed up with the mirror because eyes are, number one, assembly, eyes also are subject to change. Achetana, Atma cannot become mixed up with the anatma that it eliminates. It cannot become, otherwise it will change as the anatma changes. Drashta will change as the drishya. Even in our case also, the buddhi is the drashta, also keeps on changing as the drishya changes. Because buddhi also is an assembly and also they will change. Or ahankara also. Not so atma. So, na drishya, drishyamsa sambhinnaha. Atma cannot be mixed up with a drishyamsa, part of drishya. Drishyamsa anatmatva, because they are different class. Atma, see, as far as eyes are concerned and the mirror are concerned, they don't different class. Therefore, mixing up of eyes with mirror, the mixing up is possible because they belong to the same class. And Atma, Anatma, mixing up is not possible because they belong to different class. Like space cannot, in fact, join with part. Assume the form of the part. A rope can, but space cannot. And so Atma, the consciousness, cannot become mixed up with Anatma. Therefore, it cannot have Drishyamsha. It is only Drashta and has no Drishyatma at all. What Drishya is Anatma. Ata Drishtutvam Karmatam. Therefore, tentatively Atma is called Drashta. Only ultimately the reason for, Swarupa and Jyotisha Vyanjan, it only limits. But still, if you want to distinguish Atma, you tentatively call Drashta, which always remains Drashta and never mix up with the Drishya. Never mixes up with Drishya. Whereas Buddhi is not that kind of Drashta. Chakshu is not that kind of Drashta. They get in some way mixed up or influenced by the Drishya, therefore they also change. That's not the case with Atma. Therefore, Drashtutve Dukkhitam Nayujyate. It's not tenable that Atma is Dukkhi by being the Drashta of Dukkhitvam. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।